This is Cabbie, hustle over everything, marker.
Today, I'm joined with a legend in the game.
Cabbie is a Canadian sports television personality, creator, entrepreneur, and icon.
Tyson, the Vaseline on my face. I mean, this man was at one point the baddest man on planet Earth. Because I asked him, I said, Mike, you've achieved what we consider greatness in your life. But now that you're in like your second act of your life, do you chase greatness again? And he's like, I ate Captain Crunch out of the Stanley Cup in 12. We got to go to the after party and I snuck in Captain Crunch and I had it in like a Ziploc and I put it into we were at this bar and we found like, there's like, it was like.
With the topic of ownership, and Luka being traded from Dallas to LA. What was your opinion on that and your reaction?
I heard one theory that I believe.
How did those interviews change your life?
Well,
hello and welcome to Hustle Over Everything, the podcast at the intersection of business and culture. Today, I'm joined with a legend in the game, a literal OG. Honestly, we're going to have to give this guy his flowers because he has set the standard when it comes to interviews. I'm really excited to talk to my guy, Cabbie. What's going on with you, bro?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for the invitation.
Most definitely.
Appreciate the generous introduction. Thank you very much.
I know you have your show, Cash Out or Crash Out.
Right, yes.
So to honor the show, I thought it was only right that we do over and unders.
Oh, really? Okay, let's go.
For your interviews.
Okay.
All
Thanks.
right.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, yeah.
All right. So over under, Mike Tyson interview with the Vaseline.
Right.
Pause. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That sounds so crazy.
I mean, we can't literally say no Diddy on that one.
Literally
Literally
no Diddy. Or Sidney Crosby selfie. Which one are you going with?
Oh, which one to speak? Which one to talk about?
Yeah. Wait. Which one do you rank over? Which one do you rank under?
Oh my gosh! Wow. Well, I'll go Mike Tyson, the Vaseline on my face. I mean, this man was at one point the baddest man on planet Earth, and he was the world champion in boxing when boxing mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot the interview at his home, and I got to shout out Aaron Bronstetter, who at that time, before he became a voice in MMA, he was a guest booker on the Michael Landsberg show, Off the Record at TSN. And he set that up with my producer, Dave Crix. And we got to shoot at Mike Tyson's house in, I want to say 2012 or 2013. And he lived in Henderson, Las Vegas. I lived in Las Vegas for a couple of years, so I know where Henderson is. And he had kind of a modest home. And, weirdly, this part we couldn't really see in the interview, but he had like a fence around his pool because he lost a child like a year before, or like within, I think, a year, the child had drowned in the pool. So anyway, I know I'm picturing the environment. I'm picturing being there with Mike Tyson. So I'm remembering that part. And it was like, when you get in his house, he had these two display cases right at the front door of like belts and other like boxing artifacts, mostly like belts. And there was like a bust of his face. And I was like, oh, wow, we're in Mike Tyson. And it was very quiet, very like chill. Because like, you don't know which Mike Tyson you're going to get. You're going to get like animated, who wants to sing and do karaoke with you, or very thoughtful, introspective, thoughtful, introspective, and like deep thinking guy.
Deep thinking, yeah.
And we got a bit of both, but more the introspective guy. Because I asked him, I said, Mike, you've achieved what we consider greatness in your life, but now that you're in like your second act of your life, do you chase greatness again? And he's like, well, you have to define what greatness is, because there are a lot of great men that aren't good men, and there are a lot of good men who are great men. And I think it was basically that. And I should have followed up with like, well, which one are you, or which one do you see yourself as? But there's a bit of a time crunch. Right? And I was actually, I'm not gonna blame the time. I'm gonna blame myself for not following up with that. I think it was, I had an Art Garfunkel quote, which led to this conversation. And I thought it was like very insightful what he said about greatness. Cause like for many of us who, watched this dude climb to the highest of heights in the sport, and he became a one name athlete. It was just Tyson. It was Jordan, as Jay-Z says in Ninjas in Paris. He's like, psycho, I'm liable. I'm liable to go psycho.
Michael, no, take a pick. Jackson, Jordan,
Tyson. Oh, no. Jackson, Tyson, Jordan, game 6.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did ask him about that too, and he said, "Well, Biggie's the inventor of it." I'm like, "Oh yeah, Biggie did write that."
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Let's go, Parrot. Well,
But Biggie's really the inventor of that saying.
Wrong nights, I perform like Mike. Anyone, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, action.
Biggie Smalls is just a phenomenal lyricist.
Agreed, 100%.
Incredible. I mean, probably never be anybody's better as far as the lyrical spitting, the rhyme spitting them. Just,
and I
You
remember
have to put it in post.
Yeah, and I remember Nas was like, "How many of Biggie's rhymes are gonna come out your fat lips in Ether?" But anyway, and I will circle back to the real quick little aside. I also asked Michael Jordan, like, how did you feel about being referenced in a Jay-Z song? And he goes, I was just happy to be in it. I'm like, well, you're Michael Jordan. And then I asked Hit Boy, who produced the song, I'm like, what was it like to get feedback from that song, which is this iconic song? And he told the story about it. He's like, well, Kobe referenced it to me when I met Kobe, and then Kobe's like, well, what are you gonna do next? And he goes, that always stuck with me. And I was like, holy cow, man, that's a big question. I mean, coming from someone who's also this icon in his sport, who's climbed to the highest heights of the sport, like, what are you gonna do next? He challenged me to that once too. And Kobe was like, he said 2 things. Every year that I saw Kobe, I'd pitch him 2 ideas for like the next time, because I'd only go to LA once because I didn't want to bug him. And I think part of the reason why he tolerated our interviews, because I wasn't in his face all the time, and I wasn't I wasn't like a LA guy. I had a bit of not cashy is not the right word. I was just different because A, Canadian, and B, just this chubby reporter trying to literally be his friend. He's like, no, we're gonna just Heisman every single time. And no, we're not gonna date or anything like that. Like, bro, just relax. And so anyways, so Kobe said once, like, to write him funnier stuff, he's like, write me some Dave Chappelle show shit. I was like, bro, what? Like, Dave Chappelle is a comedic genius, like an actual genius of the art form of crafting and writing jokes and with a social commentary layered into the jokes. But that was the challenge. Like, go write me some Dave Chappelle show shit. I was like, okay. And then one of the last times I saw him, he said, you're at the beginning of what you're going to be. And I was like, whoa, that one really hit me. And I'm like, no one ever really said that to me before. And certainly no one of Kobe's stature said that to me. So anyway, this is long. So I know him. Okay, so back to Tyson. Having him, the sheer weirdness of having a grown man rub Vaseline on my face in a strictly entertainment, like pantomiming what it's like to be in a fight, a boxing ring setting, was like a fun bit for me. And we had to coax him, because like when I showed him the Vaseline, he's like, I don't know where you got this. I'm like, man, we got it from the Ralphs, like down the street, the CVS, the Walgreens down the street. I'm like, it's brand new. Opens it and it, removes the plastic, and then he digs it, and then he's like, okay, I'll buy into it. And then he's rubbing it on my face, and then he moves his hands across like my face. He goes, the reason they put Vaseline on boxers' faces is so that the punches slide off, so they don't, like, when they connect, they lose, I guess, a little bit of the power or something. Anyway, I was like, yeah, I'll take your word for it. You're Mike Tyson. So anyway, yeah. So the Crosby selfie was fun because he doesn't have as much fun, or at that time have as much fun in interviews. But the Tyson experience, I'll put that over Crosby.
The bigger the show gets, the bigger the guests get. That's why it's so important for you to hit subscribe and comment down below. So if you're enjoying the show, please hit subscribe and comment down below. Now, what's even easier for you to do is take a screenshot and share it in your stories, and other people know that you're enjoying the show. It helps grow the show, and it helps me know that I'm doing a good job. All right, let's get back into the show. I agree. I think the Tyson interview, even though it was short, it had the range of almost everything.
Oh, thanks, man.
It had a comedic version. It had depth.
Thanks, brother.
And honestly, whereas Sidney Crosby, it was kind of more, you're trying to break him.
Yeah,
I could feel like you gotta inch and to a mile to, you really took your time to get in a flow where you could possibly break him and have him laugh, take jokes. But you just spoke on 100 different things.
I know. Listen, I'm a spaz, bro. Like my brain works like it has ADHD.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it comes out of my mouth that way. But yeah, that's how it goes.
Trust me, I think the same way. One thing that happens to me is that my mouth talks faster than my brain sometimes. But anyways, let's focus on what happened with Kobe, because that was so very interesting when you brought up Kobe. Did you write anything Dave Chappelle like for Kobe?
No,
what happened there?
The closest, so my friend Nigel and I always get really stressed when I'm trying to come up with new things for interviews with athletes, because I want to, my producer Dave and I, we always want to push ourselves creatively, and we tried to think like late night television hosts. So Conan was my guy. Kimmel was like those two I think Conan is probably the smartest or like the fastest, wittiest of the late night hosts. And I know he would say Letterman, but I didn't really grow up with Letterman. And then Kimmel, because he was in LA, like he did great bits too. But Conan was like the master of the bits, because every time like Will Ferrell was on, they're doing something in a tub, or they're drinking. One dude Will is drinking like barber, like fluid, like that blue fluid that they put like the combs in. Like Will will come out like Steve Irwin, the Australian animal wrangler. I know that's a terrible way to encapsulate him, because I know he was more than that, but he always had a bit. So that's how we tried to think, like, okay, what would, and Fallon and Corden and Leno and Letterman, like they had, sometimes, I remember once Jim Carrey was on Jay Leno's show, The Tonight Show, for 45 minutes. And Jim Carrey just put on a masterful performance. Like you're getting, again, to me, someone who's on the Mount Rushmore of comedy, like just objective, to me, not objectively, subjectively. Okay, so that's what we tried to think. So with Kobe, the only time I tried to write a thing for him, so I'm gonna give credit to my boy Nigel. We're playing squash. I'm like, Nigel, man, so I'm just telling him like, okay, we gotta write something for Kobe, because they're gonna see him going to LA in like 2 weeks to do an interview he already agreed to. But then I always, while at the end of the interview, I pitch him the next two things, like, and he'll say yay or nay. So the idea was, Nigel's like, well, I think he said, well, what if Kobe, what if the sketch is Kobe never went straight to the NBA? I was like, oh, there's something there. I'm like, well, he said he wanted to go to Duke. I'm like, oh man. And then Nigel's like, well, what if you guys are roommates? I'm like, oh yeah, there's something there. So the bit was, what if, we are roommates at Duke, and at the end of the, we wanted to get like Steve Nash to be like the resident assistant, like the RA, want a cameo of like Pau Gasol. I telling Dave, I'm like, okay, we got to rent a studio in LA, and like, I'm like, how much time do we need? We might only get 45 minutes. Can we shoot all this thing in 45 minutes? And at the end, like the RA comes by, and like, the door cracks, so like one of our eyeballs is exposed as we're like, and the RA is like trying to look in to hear some commotion, and we have like girls hiding under the bed or something. So I send it to Molly Carter, who was like running Kobe Inc. at the time. Molly's like, you got to change the ending. No girls. I'm like, okay. Do like 5 revisions. And by the end, it's like lights are out and good night, Kobe. And then Kobe's like, lights are off. And Kobe's like, get out of my bed, man. Like, that's like the thing. It's so juvenile. But, when did I write that? 2013 or 14. And we missed a couple of years because one, he had a shoulder surgery. Another time he blew out his Achilles. So when an athlete's injured, they don't do media. They could do their own, documentary or whatever showing the recovery process and the rehab. But for the general media, they're off limits. Yeah. So anyway, missed a few years of interviewing Kobe. So yeah, sent in like the like V5 or V6 of this revive, crickets. So I never got to ask Kobe, like, and it followed up with Molly Carter, like every 3 weeks. Hey, Molly, just checking in again, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, it's my phone. And nothing. So I did get to pitch the idea to Kobe. Yes. And what I would do is I would have like a single frame storyboard. So one was, and this was around 2016, because one was, it was going to be the All-Star Weekend in Toronto, 2016, which is Kobe's final All-Star game, and he was going to be basically honored by the NBA because he was going to retire that season. it was like the Slam cover of 96 with the first round draft picks. So the idea was, hey, let's do like a 1 hour, a night with, and get Iverson, Ray Allen, Dirk, like a couple of Marbury. There was a pretty substantial draft class in 96. He's like, I don't want to do that yet. I was like, okay. The other one was, it was Alcoholics Anonymous, but for superheroes. And we're gonna try to get Steve Nash to be like whatever, Captain Canada or whatever, and then like hire some actors that appear on Hollywood Boulevard in like the Spider-Man costume and the Dark Knight costume. And he's like, I don't want to do that one either. And then it was
sounds tough.
Well,
Damn.
I mean, I don't know. And then the final one, so I had 3 that time. The final one was just a picture of 2 beds in a generic dorm room with a Duke like carpet, like Duke logo on a carpet. And I said, hey, this sketch is, what if you never went to straight to the NBA, but you went to college, and at college I was your roommate? And goes, that's pretty funny. He goes, I would fucking kill you. And I was like, okay. I'm like, so I can write this one? He goes, yeah, go ahead. But then I never got the green light. And it was, and even after he retired, I still wanted to shoot it, but we never was able to get a green light and get him to agree to, a time and a place and, come shoot it. So unfortunately, that would never happen.
Nah, but you still knocked out some legendary Kobe moments.
Thanks, man.
100%. So how did those interviews change your life?
Well, Kobe, he certainly boosted my visibility in this country and boosted my confidence. And he allowed himself to like remove a bit of the mystique, lower his guard a bit. So it was almost like a validation of what I was doing in the space of sports and entertainment and pop culture. This lane I was carving out for myself, Kobe validated it for me. So in the way that he changed my life was definitely reaffirming talent-wise and career-wise. And then he was, the most famous athlete that I had access to. And he elevated me because nobody saw him that way, at least in Canada. Actually, no, I would say in North America, because he wasn't doing like fun. He would do like fun commercials with like Nike, and, Wyden and Kennedy was, wrote like great Nike ads, like the Kobe system or whatever. He's got like the artist formerly known as Kanye in there, and then like Tony Robbins.
That
one
like, was
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Be
greater.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
More.
Yeah. You're welcome.
What?
How much more do you want from me?
More.
How much more successful do you want me to be?
More successful.
How many records can my records break?
More records.
But I'm the best.
But are you a different animal and the same beast?
What the does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
You're welcome.
Yeah. Or the one ad where he jumps over the, before I Show Speed was jumping over cars, Kobe jumping over cars on a parking lot. Yeah. So he wasn't like funny, known as, and you know what? He did appear on Kimmel a bunch of times. And I think they're in a safe environment because Kimmel's not really going to ask him anything controversial. I think Kobe showed a bit of his personality there. But with me, it was like, all right, I know your role as the clown. I will have fun with you.
Yeah. Now, being the clown and carving that lane for yourself, at what point do you say, you know what, I'm going to go the clown route and stay there? Because what happens, especially as a black man in media, you can be taken less seriously if you go that route. Am I wrong?
Yes, but I'm not like Bomani or Stephen A, who are like really like intellectuals who have a distinct point of view and can speak on social and cultural and with a perspective that resonates. And unfortunately for those two specifically, like they represented all of us in a way, not just themselves.
Yeah.
But I come from I like entertainment as a pure form of escapism. So like when, I remember saying this to my mom when I was, 16 or 17. I'm like, doctors and lawyers and police officers, when they come home, they turn on TV because they need to like relax. Like they need to escape. So there's value in this thing that you tell me it's garbage, like it's trash or whatever. So not that it was ever really in the front of my mind. I entertainment in a goofy way was like how I wanted to entertain in my way people. And there were so many serious interviews. Every documentary, most are serious. And not that I was doing documentary stuff, but like there was just a lot of serious sports content, and like sports media was always like sanctimonious, and there's like there's the religion of football, like everything is like was very serious. But I was like, man, we can have fun. Like I'm 12, I'm playing Madden for fun. I'm watching sports on Sundays because I enjoy watching the competition, and it's fun for me if I'm rooting for my team and my team wins. But like when I see Bo Jackson in a commercial and he's playing instruments and he's like, Bo knows this, Bo knows that, all these things, or Michael Jordan is funny with commercials with Spike Lee, I'm like, oh, that's cool. So and my personality is just an extent, or like my on-camera persona is just an extension of my personality. I just amp it up a little bit, and I'm like more animated, and I'm not trying to be taken seriously because I don't have like a serious point of view on something. I'm not like Mark Lamont Hill, who I'm like, all right, if something's or Ta-Nehisi Coates, like if I want to like hear someone discuss something serious, like something happening in the Middle East, I'm like, all right, let me go listen to how Mark Lamont Hill or Ta-Nehisi Coates discuss it, because I know that these are very intelligent men who can speak with confidence about very complex issues and provide nuance. Whereas I might make a joke about something and then people are like, bro, this is not the time for that. Yeah. So my thing, like if the time for me is like when someone's scrolling late and they're just like long day, or they're on the train back, home from work or school or something, and they just need to give their brains a rest, that's where I want to come in.
Most definitely. Now, this is a business and culture pod, and this goes right into that. How does that translate into corporations? Because with the Mark Lamont Hills, they can say, oh, because you're so serious, we're going to take you more serious in that regard, right? Do you find yourself being taken just as seriously as an entity in that way?
Okay, so the business aspect, where it would differ for me is aligning with brands or coming up with strategies for brands to reach audiences. So if there's, when I was at TSN or at Sportsnet, we would get RFPs, or we would get inbound proposals from General Motors, let's say. And General Motors might say, hey, we have some money. We want to do a campaign with some athletes. So then I'd go into my lab. I'm like, all right, let's not just do the traditional thing. Let's find some angle, or that might appeal to, like, who's your demo? Okay, 18 to 34. Okay, so people buying their first cars. All right, how do we skew this younger, or how do we try to make content which would be compelling, or which would stop someone from scrolling, which is extremely difficult. I think maybe only Mr. Beast and like a handful of others have figured out the algorithms to get people to stop and engage with the content on a consistent basis. So from a business sense, I think where I would add value is on the creative side, on the content side, to try to appeal to whatever that brand or service's customer is, and try to create something compelling for that audience. And in return, they would pay TSN or Sportsnet to use the talent or create a strategy to market to their desired audience. Now, working in sports, men 18 to 34 is like, that's like the Cinderella, not Cinderella, the Goldilocks. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. That's the Goldilocks demo, generally. 18 to 34-year-old men who have like disposable income. And these guys are your day traders. These guys are dipping into crypto and NFTs. These guys are gambling on sports. They're highly engaged in like highly valuable segment of the marketplace. I hope that answered your question.
No, you did, most definitely, man. Going back into the legendary interviews, you get asked about your top interviews so much. What interviews do you never get asked about? That's like, man, I wish somebody would have asked me about this.
Oh, thanks. Okay, thanks. That's a great question. Okay, let me, yeah, that's a great, this is an old one. Here are a couple. I ate Captain Crunch out of the Stanley Cup in 12 when the LA Kings, I became friends with Mike Richards and I owe him this. And I did not earn the privilege of like interacting with the Stanley Cup because I didn't earn the right to hoist it and like celebrate with it. But we got to go to the after party and I snuck in Captain Crunch and I had it in like a Ziploc and I put it into we were at this bar and we found like, there's like, it was like cream and milk because there's just a bar. Like, why would a bar serving Bud Lights and chicken wings have milk? But anyway, we found a little bit and it was kind of gross because there was like cream, like 50-50 and like regular milk. Put it in the cup, ate out of the Stanley Cup. So that was like, I've always wanted to eat cereal out of the Stanley Cup. And then 2 years later, at Mike Richards' home, because every hockey player gets a day with the cup, and he won it again in 14. Then we woke up and for breakfast we ate Lucky Charms out of the Stanley Cup, and that was an incredible moment. We used Twitter early. The Chicago Blackhawks, they won in 10, 13, and 15, I believe, but in 9 and 10. When Twitter was starting to blow up, we were experimenting with crowdsourcing like questions and stuff. And then we would use it. I would use it in the interviews. And there was a moment where I snuck in. Effectively, I got banned from going into the dressing room to celebrate with the players. Okay, so quick story. In 2008, when the media was allowed to go into the dressing room after the team that won the Stanley Cup, and you can go and get interviews and stuff. So I had like this, I had a yellow poncho, I had like swimming, like snorkeling goggles, and went in there and I shot a bunch of content. The next year, so that was Detroit. Detroit won in Pittsburgh, and the dressing rooms were so tiny. They were the size of like someone's bedroom in their house. It was so small. I mean, there were like 100 people in two of these rooms. The next year, Pittsburgh avenges the 08 loss against Detroit. Pittsburgh wins in 09. I'm in there with an orange poncho, again, snorkeling goggles. I'm one of the first people in there once they open the room. And then Evgeny Malkin is spraying me with champagne and I'm interviewing the guys. But then in 2010, media was not allowed in the room. It was just the NHL photographers. But then Chris Versteeg, Chicago Blackhawks beat the Philadelphia Flyers. He's like, come into the room. So then the league officials are not going to tell a player they can't do anything on the night they win the Stanley Cup. They could do whatever. So I get to go in the room. I had this big stupid beard and I snuck in like a portable clippers and had guys shave my beard. I had a really fat face at the time. So they shaved my beard and then I got to drink from the Stanley Cup again. But I gave Chris Versteeg, I snuck in like a super soaker, like a mini one. And then we found some champagne. So we filled it with the super soaker. And then he went into the room and he was spraying guys. And then somebody had wrote about it on Twitter who could see into the room. And he's in there with like a green and pink super soaker and he's spraying it at his teammates. So those were, I don't get asked about that very often. It's a nice, and I'm thinking Stanley Cup and hockey because we recently just saw the Florida Panthers win back-to-back Stanley Cups. So that's kind of on the brain. That's I've been very fortunate to have like some pretty cool experiences and those are.
I find that people kind of sleep on your NHL experience.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks. I don't know. I did more hockey interviews than any other sport, but people remember Kobe. They remember some of the baseball ones, a few of them. They remember
Drake.
I don't know if they remember Drake. I've interviewed him a couple of times, but Kobe's the one that people reference
for sure the most. The most. What in the world made you sign up to be hit by hockey pucks?
Thanks. That's another one that I actually The one with Steven Stamkos when we were
Yup.
outside? Oh, great.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks, man. Man, I don't know, bro. Like it's so stupid. And maybe there was a little bit of and you know who doesn't get enough credit in speaking of OGs, Johnny Knoxville and that whole Jackass crew, like they were of the right time, because if they were doing their stunts and all their tomfoolery in like the YouTube and social media era, maybe they'd be much bigger stars, but
sure.
they would crash out a lot more. Because like we all just got to see like either clips of the show on MTV and you had to watch like the 30-minute show, or we saw the movies.
Yeah.
We saw, I think there were 3 of these movies, and these guys were just absolute knuckleheads, like to the highest degree and in the most respectful way. But anyway, Johnny Knoxville, so maybe there was a little not what would Johnny do, but like there's some residue in getting blindfolded and having an MVP shoot friggin' or like rubber, maybe not, just like sponge hockey pucks at me for an activation at the corner of Bay and Wellington, the RBC complex right downtown Toronto. And I think it was for Tissot, the Tissot watch brand was what, and I don't even know what, I guess fans could meet him and maybe they could shoot with him or something. But anyway, we just hijacked it for like a few minutes. He shot pucks. I shot a couple, I think. And I had to quickly like come up with a bit. Actually, I knew we were going there. So I came up with the bit beforehand, but we just a few minutes to like execute the bit. And he was awesome. And I'm very thankful that he, was down to do something silly. He's also a very serious guy. Like he doesn't do much in season, but in the off season, you can catch him like one time.
Yeah.
It was weird, man. Like weird in that he wasn't as accessible as I'd hoped. Same with Sid. A lot of these hockey dudes. Nate McKinnon isn't really that accessible. Connor isn't really that accessible. You can get Connor like in the off season, maybe once, like with training camp or with one of his partners. So he's like CIBC, I think Body Armors, The Drink. I can't remember who his, I don't know if CCM is his
Hockey stick?
equipment partner. He's got like 4 or 5 of these great partnerships. And sometimes that is the way that you can access when either they're shooting a commercial or he has a few hours dedicated to the brand because it's part of the deal. Like, oh, you have to do something for like 10 hours over the course of the year. And then you can like sneak in for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But it's trickier and it's harder now because one, athletes have a distrust of the media.
For sure.
Many just people in general, and I have no idea what the stat is. I don't have the data to support this kind of gut feel, but people have a distrust of institutions in government, media, healthcare. So,
especially with athletes though, because they intend to, not intend, but with athletes, they continuously get bashed by the media.
Yeah.
You know, like as humans, they're products and they're consistently getting judged on a day-to-day basis on their performance.
Yeah.
It's very unhuman-like as an experience. So I can only imagine them feeling distrustful or, you know, them not having any kind of trust with the media. So it makes a lot of sense, especially with how Kobe's treating, to go back to that. But and I think that's what kind of gives you an edge, is the ability to not have to be performance-based. You know, you can literally just chill out and just...
like in what we discussed, like their performance in their sport?
Exactly.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to really be judged by that. Now, speaking of that, because they have to give up their social media presence when it comes to, you know, how they perform, because they don't want to be John Morant, you know? And...
it's a good thing we haven't heard anything about him in a while.
For sure.
So hopefully it's working.
Big shout out to John Morant.
Yeah.
He's been holding it down over the last
just
few
staying
months.
quiet, lay low, stay in your lab, get your jump shots up, take care of your fam, and then we'll see you on the court.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of them give up a lot for the game, you know? But I feel like you kind of do too. You're always traveling, you know? You're always on the road, if I'm not mistaken. So
often, but not, I mean, there were times where I was on the road constantly, but like, listen, at some point this is going to end.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of these media types, and I know dozens of them who are just like, the luster of the gig wears off, and you see behind the curtain, and it's not as glamorous as it may be, or you're not looking through rose-colored glasses like you are at 20 when you're 40 or when you're 50, and you're like a grizzled veteran and you're like following the Cincinnati Reds for 162 games, or the Pittsburgh Steelers for like 8 months of the year or whatnot. So I know that this thing is going to end. So and it's an actual fun job. It's not like you have to write, if you're covering a team that loses 100, like imagine covering the Colorado Rockies. Colorado Rockies might set the record for the most losses in a baseball season. Like, the team is dreadful. How are you inspired every day to tell the story of this team other than, there are talented individual players, but as a team, these guys are woefully performing. How do you tell that, like, be fair and objective and not be like, well, man, this guy's batting 184 and they're paying him $17 million, and like killing one or two players because they're obviously underperforming. That's hard.
How does that actually happen? Because
a team that loses 100 games in a 162 season?
Because I think about this in like basketball standpoint. With basketball, there'll be a team that'll say, we're going to have a rebuilding season, we're going to make sure that we're rebuilding the roster, like what the Raptors are kind of doing right now, and they rebuild it, and maybe over the next 2 years, they get back into it. But with baseball and teams like that, it feels like it doesn't happen. Why? How would that happen? Like, I could use some education there.
Well, you get direction from the owner. Does the ownership want to win a lot of games and compete for a championship? Or does the owner just want to fill the building? And in baseball, until recently, a dozen or so teams were really successful because they had great regional sports network deals. These regional sports networks have imploded, except for the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers. I want to say the Cubs. I think WGN still shows Cubs games. There are a few, and there are the bigger market teams that have, certainly the Dodgers, Red Sox, Yankees have these great RSNs, regional sports networks, that provide most of the revenue, operating revenue for the team. And then obviously the gate is important too. How many butts in the seats, or how many people pay for tickets, not necessarily how many butts are in those seats. Because you could have 20,000 people pay for tickets and then have like 8,000 show up. Still 20,000 people pay for the tickets. So baseball's a weird one because there's no hard cap like there is in hockey, like there is in basketball with the second apron, and football definitely has a hard cap. It's like 220 or something like that. It's a giant number, but football is a behemoth. Football is Thanos with all the Infinity Stones, snapping fingers. Oh, NBA, you guys like to play on Christmas Day? Yeah, we're gonna come eat some of that food. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you guys, college football, you guys have a Saturday? Okay, we're gonna start eating into your Saturdays, which was previously agreed. Like, okay, college football, you get the day, and football gets a day. But football's like, we're pretty greedy, so we're gonna start eating. So baseball, so the directive comes from the owner, like, what's the direction? And then your president of operations and your general manager go and execute the vision from the ownership. And sometimes injuries, sometimes it's just like not the right mix of humans on a team. And sometimes it's just like, we just want to put butts in seats. But to put butts in seats, you got to have a winning product, because who wants to go watch a losing product?
Exactly.
So it's hard. I don't know if I think Tampa has figured out Tampa's figured out how, with that ownership group and that front office, how to make a competitive team every year, not necessarily win the World Series. Because I don't know if Tampa, 21 maybe? 20 or 21. Dodgers won in 20. No, Braves in 19, Dodgers 20. No, 19 was the Nationals, because Capitals in 18, Nationals 19. I think Dodgers 20, 21 Braves. Or is it Tampa in there? 22 Astros. 23. God, who won in 23? And 24 was the Dodgers. 23.
Don't even worry about it, man.
Okay. So, I can't even remember when Tampa won a World Series, but they've been a competitive team for a long time and operating in like the bottom 10%, not 10%, bottom 10 teams in that, in a 30 team league, always feels a competitive team. So, yeah, I don't think I answered your question very well, but yeah, baseball is a weird one. It's 1 versus 9. It's 1 batter versus 9 defensive players every time. It's a weird team, quote unquote, team sport.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I want to pivot a little bit with the topic of ownership, and Luka being traded from Dallas to LA. What was your opinion on that and your reaction?
I heard one theory that I believe, which is the Adelsons, I think, what's the lady's name? Sherry Adelson or something. Anyway, these Vegas casino magnates bought 80% of, or all of Mark Cuban's share in the Dallas Mavericks, want to build casinos in the state of Texas. Having worked in Las Vegas and working in sports betting, when I got there in 19, there were 7 states that had legalized sports betting, and I think 3 of those states had mobile betting on your phones. Every year, because I think the federal government voted to ban or to rescind, the federal law about gaming federally, and now states could decide to open up their sports betting operations if they want, to allow legal sports betting. So what we heard in Vegas was the 3 states that will never open up to gambling is California, Texas, and Utah. So Texas and Utah, very hard right Christian citizens.
Ideals.
And then California, I wasn't exactly sure why. I can't remember the indigenous peoples that are from California, that you have to obviously make deals with the indigenous people from those regions. And I believe in Florida was another state that was going to be hard. And the Seminoles have have a lot of power in that state. And the Seminoles, I believe, are in partnership with the Hard Rock Hotel in Florida. And that's a casino. And I believe the Dolphins play there too. There's a whole stadium complex. So the Adelsons have hired every high-powered lobbyist to try to change the minds of the Senate in the state of Texas to allow legal casinos and sports betting. So the theory was the Adelsons, want to devalue the team. You trade your best asset. You trade a generational talent.
Generational.
Then you threaten to move the team. Hey, all right, if you guys don't greenlight this $10 billion project that we want to have this casino, this new stadium, this entire complex, then we'll move the team to Vegas. We made our money in Vegas. We can easily move this NBA team to Vegas. There is no NBA team there. So that's kind of the threat. That's the theory that I heard. I'm like, that makes sense. If you're hiring all these high-powered lobbyists to affect the decision-making of the policymakers in that town, and if they don't do it, then you threaten to leave. So then you try to bring the weight of the NBA or let's keep the team there. I don't know if anybody would call that bluff, because Dallas is a top 5 metropolitan market in the United States. So I don't know if it would actually happen, but that's the theory that I heard. And I believe, because they've been trying for years, or maybe a year and a half since they got ownership of the team, to try to build a casino in the state of Texas, and more specifically in Dallas, a new complex that would have a new building and have, a couple of hotels. It would be this sprawling entertainment district. But Texans are like, no, man, our religion is the Lord. It's guns and money. So, but they don't want that kind of money. They don't want gambling money.
Damn.
That's what I heard. But it's not my theory.
Yeah.
I think I heard that on the Illuminati podcast with Amin El-Hassan and Tom Haberstroh, and they had a lawyer, a Texas lawyer, who was like, who's much more informed than the rest of us about it. Because it was like, why would Nico Harrison do that? It doesn't make any sense. But then if you subscribe to that theory, I'm like, oh, I could see. Okay, and if you want to, they paid like, I think Mark Cuban cashed out for like $4 billion, but if they, devalue the team to whatever, then threaten to move, then like, okay, that's some leverage if you threaten to leave, but then you either got to do it or I don't know, you got to persuade somebody to change their mind, or several lawmakers to allow for this thing to happen, sports betting to happen in Texas.
Would you take that bet if you were like the lawmakers in Texas, just to get the NBA team back up?
I don't know enough to give you a good answer.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about how like the sausage is made and what the economic impact would be for the region, and like what the ramifications of like, all right, you let this casino in, like how many more do you build, and how does that affect the citizens there, and then how much tax can the state charge, and then which would then fund a lot of
things that come with gambling.
Well, yeah. Like addiction programs and responsible gaming activations and a lot of the ills that come with gambling. Like there's like, okay, here's the shining bag of money, but then there's a cost associated with it.
There's a definite cost with it, man. So now, speaking of cost, what have you had to give up on this journey being a sports journalist?
That's a great question, because we get so much positive from it. Like the feedback from the audience is great. Generally, the feedback from the athletes is great. And there isn't really anything to bemoan. As I'm a dad now, it's harder because I'm responsible. My wife and I are responsible for raising these two boys, and you have limited bandwidth because our boys are at home with us. It's like raising kids during COVID. Like they're just home, and that's my wife's preferred parenting styles. Like the kids grow up with us and they learn from us before we send them to like daycare or have like help that helps out with. So we're doing all of the raising. So in that regard, you lose a bit of yourself because your focus is on these little guys. And I live in Calgary, Alberta, so some opportunities aren't really available for me there as they would be here in Toronto. So those are like minor things. I mean, overwhelming. Like I've been very lucky in my career and had some unbelievable experiences because of my job and who I've been able to meet and who I've been able to befriend, or like being able to cover. Man, I saw like I went to Pamplona, Spain, and I ran with the Bulls because we pitched that idea to our bosses. And they're like, okay, you have a budget allocated for the year. If this is what you want to do for part of that budget, go do it. And I got to run with the Bulls in Pamplona, Spain. I saw a guy's brain get mashed on the friggin' cobblestones. I saw a dude like, what? In Pamplona, the Americans, Brits, Australians, and a handful of Canadians, they're the villains. Like the people who live in Pamplona, they root for the Bulls and they root for carnage because it's more fun to watch these idiotic, drunk, or hungover tourists invade their city. And then, the course is 800 meters and the goal is to get into the ring. Like there's a bullfighting ring at the end of the course. And that's the goal, to get into the ring. And then they release some other bulls less violent as the ones that they released at the beginning of the track, of the course, if you will. And they cheer from their balconies. They're cheering for the Bulls as they're coursing around and running over dudes. And I saw a dude fall and he smacked his head. And then I saw a bull step on his head and I was like, oh, that I hope someone woke him up. Because if he was just left I didn't stop to I have zero empathy in that moment. It was just pure fight or flight. And my ass was trying to fly to get inside that bull ring where there's a little bit of safety because then it's a bigger space. And also you're running, it's like the width of this room. So maybe 12 feet in diameter or 16 feet, not diameter, wide in width. That's not a wide street, bro. And there are hundreds of people running. The more dangerous thing is like the other humans, because people run at different speeds.
Yeah.
I know I elbowed a dude in the face hard to get like away from, just to get clear some space as I continued to run. Like I was just a total, man, I was like, who's the homie in like Juggernaut without the helmet, like the comic book character. I was just a bully, bro. Man, and we ran it twice too. It's like 8 a.m. You got to get there by like 7:30 because then they lock you into the course, and then they kind of inspect people. You can't bring any cameras because it's like you're not signing a waiver. They don't want any liability. If someone dies, they're like, "Hey man, it was your fault." Yeah. And the streets, the cobblestones are soaked because it's like every night you go out, you drink, and the foreigners, they're drinking, they're throwing glasses and bottles, and so in the morning they with hoses, they just wash all the wine and booze and glass, or whatever. They wash it, like they kind of clear the street, but it's wet. You're not running on dry streets. So it's slippery, bro. So it's even harder for the dumb tourists to complete the running of the bulls. And I know that guy was 100% concussed, and he may not be with us anymore. That particular dude that I saw crack his head on the cobblestone, and then a bull stepped on his head.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Now, how the hell did you get that approved? That makes no sense to me. Like, or what was the pitch?
I don't even. I think Dave pitched. I think we just had. We wanted to. So every year we would allocate resources to tentpole events. So like NHL playoffs is a tentpole event. Start of NBA and hockey is a tentpole event. Super Bowl is a tentpole, but we never really went to the Super Bowl. Grey Cup weekend is a tentpole event when I was at TSN. All-Star, whether a basketball All-Star game or NHL All-Star game, those are tentpole events. It could be a major like tennis. If there were Canadians competing like Bianca or Milos Raonic or Leila Fernandez, it had to be like there had to be obviously a Canadian angle to what, and there was no Canadian angle to running of the Bulls.
I was like, where the hell is the Canadian angle?
There's no Canadian angle.
The Bulls.
There's just something I wanted to do, and like everything, just like, all right, just don't die. Basically, like don't get injured and die overseas.
Shout out to you for getting paid to do that.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
that's an incredible thing.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
And all right, so working towards wrapping up, man. As somebody that's getting into the journalism space, what should I be looking out for?
Oh, emerging trends, how you can use AI to tell compelling stories or use it to mine information, to help engage with your audience. Don't be afraid of AI. Make it a tool that you use. What else should you look out for? Relationship capital is very valuable. And as humans we're more connected by our devices, but I think we're more apart socially. And relationships at times are transactional. Like, hey, can you come and appear on this? Like, I would love for you to give me 45 minutes of your time. Mm-hmm. But in order to ask for someone for 45 minutes of their time, make sure you develop a relationship. Unless your show becomes so big and undeniable, like Sean Evans' Hot Ones, where you're eating 10 chicken wings and doing this amazing interview. Like unless you create something like that where it's programmed into every star's media tour, like you have to do Hot Ones, you have to do Hustle Over Everything, because you're gonna have a great conversation and you're gonna feel more human or whatever. You're gonna connect with the audience, that audience. Your relationship capital is very important, just with obviously your friends and your peers, but people that you're gonna meet over the course of your career and develop either friendships with or just really cool relationships with. So yeah, I would say always treat everybody as humans and know that relationship capital, there's like, you only have so much of it. I'll try to give you a story. Like, sometimes you'll have you have a little bit of access to people, but over the course of time, you might get more if you're not always asking for stuff. It's weird. It's like, it's an art, not a science, bro, because you're dealing with other humans. And I learned because I made so many mistakes that if you're dealing with entertainers or athletes or maybe business owners might be different. Oh, actually, no, business owners probably get, or business people probably get their DMs on LinkedIn are just full every day. And people are like, hey, can I get a coffee with you? Can I pick your brain? And they get like 30 of those a day. Like, no, I don't want to do some work before you get to me. Like you gotta complete some levels of the video game before you get to before you come with main character energy or final boss energy. I'm final boss energy. You gotta get to me. It's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah. There's a phrase there that says, before you network, put your work in the net.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. So relationship capital, and then like, how can you, Alex, utilize AI for productivity, creativity, structure, however you use these tools, how can you make the most of the tools? Because I don't think we're all going to be plumbers. Like when the robots take over, like, are we going to be cleaning streets and like, are we just gonna have like physical jobs, or like, I know they're coming for the white collar, like the what's the term for white collar jobs?
You're right. White collar jobs. That's it. Yeah.
They're coming for those, for like RIP accountants, lawyers. Like there's gonna be the AI accountant bot or the AI lawyer thing. I mean, lawyer might be harder because I don't know how many judges will allow AI. We've seen some people testing it out and trying to push those boundaries and getting cases thrown out or whatever. But eventually, it's just scary what the future can be in a dystopian sense, but it can also be like a crazy opportunity for people who are entrepreneurial or savvy, or just like, all right, let's embrace this tech, because it's gonna obviously, it's gonna be like the person who discovered fire or electricity, or it's just gonna be that much of a culture change in human existence, the adoption of AI on a global scale.
Most definitely, man. Where can people find you?
On my socials, on IG, it's the real Cabbie. I'm trying to get the handle changed to just Cabbie.
That'd be tough.
I'm trying to. It's taking a while. I guess I use Twitter still, and that's just Cabbie. And then I have a small YouTube channel. I think that's also like the real Cabbie. It's Cabbie in the title somewhere. And that's where you can find like my content, and hopefully you guys enjoy it, and hopefully you enjoyed this conversation.
Yes, hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. With that being said, that's what we can't control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
I'm Cabbie.
That's the show, y'all. Peace.